Hi everyone, my name is Sean Kerr and I'm an author for Extasy books. I'm also the author of the Dead Camp series of novels, which are paranormal romance in the genre. So today I'm going to read a chapter or part of a chapter from Dead Camp Book 1, which is now also available in paperback from Amazon. This is going to be an excerpt that is clean. There might be a bit of bad language in it, but there's no dirty bits in it. This is going to be Facebook friendly. So I needed to choose a sample that was not offensive. So Eli is a vampire. He's in hiding and he's been found by an angel. And the angel is making him face his past, and to do so he has to tell a rather embarrassing story that took place back in Victorian London. And so this chapter finds us with Eli as he explains a little bit of what happened back then. So this is related by Eli. London, 1889. This is the story of how I fucked up. I should have been in recovery. I should have been pulling myself together, which meant no drugs and no sex, with only enough blood to keep me going. Oh, and no turning humans either. Yeah, right. On a positive note, this was the story of how I saved a country, again. The story of how I saved a monarchy from collapsing under its own dissolute weight. This was the story of my descent into madness. Situated on the northern bank of the River Thames opposite Rotherhithe, between Ratcliffe and Millwall, the Limehouse area of London was as rough as a sheet of sandpaper against your bare ass. Home to a community of rambunctious sailors and a thriving Chinese population, the area had gained such notoriety that in 1878 the government deemed it necessary to build Limehouse its very own courthouse. Rival gangs fought with police for supremacy on a daily basis, and violent domestic fights played out like theatre on the cobbled, shit-strewn streets. The sight of a horse would forever remind me of shit, and the smell of shit would forever transport me back to Limehouse. My God, how intoxicating the smell of a city was to a vampire, and oh, did London smell. No matter where I went, it was impossible to escape the tang of human and animal excrement, mixed with the erotic scent of semen and blood. The air was thick with it. And always that invigorating cacophony of aromas lay intermingled with the rancid stench of the Thames that wound its lifeblood through that daunting city, metallic, salty, putrescent. Of course, humans were none the wiser to this most prodigious vapours, but I inhaled deeply. It was so alive. Mixed liberally with the exhaust fumes of everyday life, Limehouse had the greatest smell of all, opium. Sweet mind-fucking opium that was both my saviour and my downfall. Its smell permeated everything. My vampire nose could pick out its perfume with almost pinpoint accuracy, even on those wet days when sewage overflowed from the Thames amid a thick, stinking carpet underfoot. There were days when I wandered those busy streets like a stricken waif, one foot aimlessly stumbling before the other, a slave to the scent of the poppy. I tried to resist it. I tried to block out the fragrance from my senses. But such was the power it held over me, such was the distraction from reality that it offered. Such was the power of its smoky, comforting embrace that it rendered me powerless. My trance, my hypnotic amble always ended in the same place, always in the middle of Limehouse. Now that was addiction. Industrialization had already tainted the tall buildings of London with a dusting of black detritus. Thick black smoke pumped out of a myriad chimneys and factories, forming a dense layer of cloud that clung to London like an umbrella, trapping the moisture beneath its canopy. It created an atmosphere both dank and oppressive. As a result, London always felt dark and somehow very intimate because of it. The streets were full of the desperate and the dissolute. Seldom had I witnessed such disparity between the wealthy and the poor. Hope and ambition were the remit of the rich and powerful, the rest discarded into the shit-strewn streets, unwanted and uncared for. Most of the city crawled aimlessly across the land to create one big slum, overcrowded and riddled with disease, Too much humanity crammed into one space, but no one told London that. Limehouse was the perfect example of pessimism, where the population went through their daily routine with the sole aim of surviving it. Murderers, thieves, prostitutes, the sick and the homeless, all shoehorned into one tiny area. And the buildings were just the same, tall black monoliths jutting into the smog-filled sky, narrow and crammed together, compacted into rows that refused to look orderly. Squeezed between two such buildings sat R. Singh's laundrette. On any given day, a forest of billowing sheets, hanging on a web of lines, strung taut between tall wooden poles, would afford only a tantalizing glimpse of the laundrette beyond. On a good day, those lines would be 6 or 7 deep. Disembodied voices floated between the sheets from the long table positioned at the front of the laundrette, where Oriental women of various ages had their hands immersed in great metal basins, scrubbing the latest intake of washing. Their hands were red raw and sore from the caustic soap. So fast was their chatter and so high-pitched were their voices that they sounded like a flock of excited seagulls engaged in some elaborate mating call. It never failed to make me smile. As I made my way through the forest of cotton trees, the women spotted me, their voices rising in excitement. I never understood a word of it, but they knew why I was there. Out of courtesy, I nodded towards the interior of the laundrette, and the ladies squawked with excitement, animated agreement. There was always lots of bowing. The inside stank of perspiration and soap. It was very dark and claustrophobic, a sensation made even more tangible because of the washing that hung from every conceivable surface, a sea of knickers and corsets and bloomers, and all those intimate items unbefitting a public hanging. A discreet trap door set into the floor at the back of the shop lured me into the dark interior. Positioned over the opening, perched on a large oak barrel, sat a wizened old Chinese man smoking a beautifully carved dragon pipe, and his eyes lit up at the sight of me. The sight of me always made him smile, the thought of the bulging wallet in my pocket an effective aphrodisiac. "Come on," he would mutter enthusiastically. It was the only intelligible word I ever heard him speak. His gestures, however, left nothing to the imagination as he thrust his hand out to me. There was no language barrier there. We always performed the same routine. I would fill his hand with a wad of notes, and he would sniff them, giggling before stuffing them into his pockets. He liked my packet. Then he would shuffle to one side and point towards the barrel. The barrel weighed a ton, but the trap door beneath weighed more. I moved both obstacles easily, and as I flexed my perfect muscles, I felt his eyes upon me, marvelling at my strength, his eyes glinting mischievously. And then he muttered a phrase, as he always did, an unintelligible mishmash of sounds that bugged me. For some reason, it always made me feel like he had the upper hand, as though he were toying with me. But that day I was particularly lucid, and it occurred to me to have him write the phrase down on a piece of paper. And surprisingly, he was all too pleased to accommodate. The intricate, incomprehensible scrawl defeated me, and he knew it. That really pissed me off. I imagined myself sinking my teeth into his filthy throat. His flesh was probably as tough as old leather, and his blood as rancid as piss. But it would have been most satisfying to wipe the smile off his face. I did not do it, of course. I could not risk giving myself away, not if I wanted to continue using the facilities, plus I was on a fasting day. The darkness below beckoned, calling me into its warm, comforting womb, and I descended into the murky depths below with giddy anticipation. Compared to the hovel above, the basement felt positively luxurious. Only the wealthy could afford such a pastime, so an effort to provide a certain degree of comfort was evident. Chinese lanterns festooned the low ceiling, casting a flickering glow that did nothing to dispel the gloom. But they created an otherworldly atmosphere. I found it enchanting. Silk hung from the ceiling to the floor, creating individual booths, private areas in which lay mattresses and multicoloured cushions, promising a warm, reassuring environment. A thick layer of straw coated the flagstone floor that helped to muffle the sound of any careless footsteps. There was nothing worse than the annoying clip-clopping of feet when one was mounted. I noted my favourite cubicle in the corner lay unoccupied. It had the added benefit of only one fabric partition and 2 solid brick walls that I found most beneficial when off my tits. During a particularly violent trip, I had once torn down the fabric walls surrounding me, causing a small fire that nearly burned the place down, so brick was good. I was menage. Fire would not destroy me, but I had no wish to experience the lick of flame again, not on my stunning face. No sooner had I crawled onto the remarkably comfortable mattress, plumping up my nest of cushions, than Ah Sing appeared. Now he was a sight to behold. When I thought back to that time, to Ah Sing, it always conjured the novels of Sax Rohmer, for surely he had met Ah Sing. The sight of such a creature was exciting and exotic in 1889. He stood there tall and fabulously elegant in his Manchu hat and full mandarin blouse of cobalt blue, with gold embroidered dragons, and his incredible moustache that hung down below his pointed chin was a thing to marvel. But Fu Manchu he was not, for while undoubtedly a criminal, Ah Sing did not have an evil bone in his lanky body. Courteous and efficient with a towering intellect, Ah Sing was someone I liked very much. Mr. Ah Sing died by very mysterious circumstances in 1890. He knew too many people, too many important people. He bowed low and deep, and I felt the excitement begin to well up inside me like a tremendous fart bursting to let rip, because at any moment he would offer me the long pipe of utter happiness. Then I suddenly remembered the piece of paper with the old man's scrawl upon it. I thrust it without explanation into Mr. Sing's clasped hands, and he very politely and very slowly unfolded a scrap of yellowed paper. His eyes were so sharp, sparkling green, emerald green, and they flashed across the paper, taking in every detail, until suddenly his face lit up, flesh wrinkling into the most glorious smile, followed by the gentle shrugging of his elegantly dressed shoulders as he chuckled. I had never seen him laugh before. It suited him. You wish to know meaning? Fuck me sideways, the Oriental bastard could speak English. How many times had I visited that joint, using wild hand gesticulations while speaking to him in slow moronic fashion to make myself understood. I felt like a right twat. Yes, please, if you would be so kind. My voice sounded meek, humble, a sound unfamiliar to me, and he knew it. His mouth twitched as he tried not to laugh. The meaning of the characters is you are capable, but the meaning of the phrase goes much deeper if you have ears to hear it and eyes to see. I thought as much. The old wrinkled kumquat knew, Mr. Ah Sing knew. And that's where I'll leave it. It gets a bit rude after here, so I don't do any more, otherwise I'll be evicted from Facebook. So I hope that's intrigued you a bit. I hope you enjoyed that. Excuse the odd stumble. It's very odd reading your own work out live, I can tell you. So that's Dead Camp 1. There are 3 books out at the moment, and they're available for electronic download from my publisher at Extasy, and the paperbacks are also available on Amazon. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this reading, and I hope to see you again sometime. Thank you for now. Bye-bye.